Good evening. Welcome to Suffering in Silence with Minister Tia on Luv Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We're here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. Luv Bay family, we are rising out of the ashes together. Our topic on this evening is strength. And we have with us our co-host Carrie Hardy and our guest Alicia Angst, owner and founder of Angst Restorative Therapy. Listeners, if you have any questions or comments for our guest or co-host, you can email us at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. If you have any resources that you would like to share with us on a national or local level from your country, your community, your local organizations, or your faith community, you can also email us at sufferinginsilencedv@gmail.com. So, Carrie, would you say hello to the listeners on tonight?
Hello, everyone. My name is Carrie, and I'm so glad that you guys are joining us tonight. And I'm a writer, as I mentioned, and my email is imagesattainable@gmail.com. It's images spelled phonetically, then attainable, spelled phonetically at gmail.com. Imagesattainable@gmail.com. No spaces.
Thank you so much. Alicia, would you please greet our listeners on tonight and tell them about you?
I'm honored to be here. Thank you guys for having me, Carrie and Minister Tia. I am so grateful to be here and get the chance to talk with you all. My name is Alicia Angst. I am the owner of Angst Restorative Therapy. It's a sports and medical wellness. I do sports and medical massage. My Instagram handle is Angst Restorative Therapy, LLC. And like I said, I'm just great to be here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. So listeners, as usual, we want to start with sharing some resources. So first we have the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Their website is thehotline.org. Their phone number is 1-800-799-7233. We have Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, also known as RAIN. Their website is www.rainn.org. And the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Their phone number is 1-800-273-8255. So with that, listeners, tonight our topic is strength. So, Alicia, what do you want the listeners to know and learn about the strength that is Alicia?
I think, so first, off with a favorite quote of mine, and that is to be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire. Mm-hmm. That has been a huge driving force for me, to continue to just stay positive and, look at the greater good of every experience that you face in life. And to just continue finding what, lights the fire in your heart and your soul, and allow that to be the driving force to help you to keep going. Mm-hmm. I think, part of what we face is, to take a lesson out of everything and just allow us to be resilient, to take us to that next thing.
So tell us, how did Angst Restorative Therapy come to be?
Good question. Through the trials and tribulations of my beautiful life, I had always struggled between, two of my passions have always been helping people and sports, right? I'm very empathetic and also an athlete. I've played sports since I was a young girl. And so I had always struggled between, do I want to do something in the healthcare field, whether it be a nurse or a doctor, or do I become, something in the the sports and athletic field, maybe an athletic trainer, or do something in sports management. And in between being a young single mom and having 4 children, I realized that, I kind of had to act quickly and figure something out that wasn't going to take too much time away from me being a mom and taking care of my kids, but also allow me to be qualified to do something that was going to provide a good living for my children. So with that being said, my mom is my best friend, and I would call her every day, most of the days crying, I just felt lost. I always felt like I always explain it as I felt like I was in a pit or a hole, and I'm trying to crawl myself out, crawl out. But as I'm crawling out, the dirt just keeps slipping out from underneath my feet. I knew I had the strength and resilience of what it took to get to that, to get me out of that. I just didn't know how to get there, and so the one night my mom actually said to me, she said, what about massage therapy? And I was like, I don't know, so later on that night, I actually looked into it, and the two things that first popped out to me were sports massage and medical massage. And I remember just this light in my heart, just went off, and it was like, oh my gosh, this could be either a stepping stone for me or even the happy medium that I just needed in my life, kind of bringing both of them together. And so the next day I wrote down a few of the schools that offered massage therapy in my area or surrounding areas. And the closest one to me, I actually went to take a visit at, and I fell in love with the school, and I got to meet the instructors, and they were amazing. And so that exact day, that same day, I enrolled in the school. And so I always describe it as how I got into massage therapy, how Angst restorative therapy came to life was inspiration. I put myself out there and really just found this happy medium that I was called to do.
That is awesome. And listening to you, I hear the strength that it took for you to reach out to your mom, to have one of those conversations. It took strength to listen to her, to the advice she gave you. And it took strength to take the steps to look into it, and then the strength to move towards your goals. So, thinking of that and whatever else may be, on your heart and in your mind, what do you think what is strength to you? And a lot of times, when we say strength, people automatically think of the physical part, the physical strength to physically get up and move or exercise or do whatever. But how would you describe strength? What is strength to you? I heard what you said, and I know how I see it and how I heard it from you, but how would you describe it?
Strength as tell people, I think we need to allow ourselves to feel what we need to feel. But then we have to get up, dust ourselves off, and face it again. One of the things that helped me, especially along the way as a massage therapist, was, I remember after I graduated, it was like, okay, now where do I go from here? And I realized always being a go-getter, but sometimes you lose sight of that, and I had to kind of have a pep talk with myself. Like, listen, I don't know you, so you have to go out and get after it. You have to be a go-getter. And, not allow the things that we're going through to diminish our potential. And like I said, just to have that victor mentality, there is always somebody else out there that has it way worse than you. And again, not to diminish our own feelings and what we're going through, but someone else out there has it way worse than you, and I think a lot of times, sometimes we get stuck in these ruts, of like, oh my gosh, this is bad. Or, a lot of times when we focus on that one bad thing, it attracts other negative things to happen,
Yes.
you know? And I think when we try to look at the positives of it, again, as I mentioned earlier, the things that happen to us don't necessarily happen to us, they happen for us, whether it's to teach us a lesson or, you know, to gain something from it, to maybe share it with other people. So at the end of the day, we just have to realize that we can overcome it. There are other people that have it way worse than us. And, you know, you just have to get up and brush yourself off.
Yes. What did it take for you to get to where you are? Like, I know, for instance, you more than likely had to go to school and get training, but what did it mentally take? What did it emotionally take? That strength, that emotional strength, what did it take for you to get to be where you are, to fulfill those goals that you had?
Tears throughout the process and the program. I knew that I was always meant for greater than what I was, you know, and potential to be something bigger. So it always tested my mental strength, you know, and emotional strength. And I think just like, you know, the cliche saying is you have to find your why, you know, and my children were my why. I wanted to be that person that was able to give them all that they deserved and, you know, not have to rely on anybody or not have to struggle, you know. And I think at the end of the day, you just have to really dig deep and find that willpower to break through. And again, finding your why. Like, my kids are my why. You know, I also want to be, as a lot of people say today, that generational change, you know, and I want to bring generational wealth. And I know I have what it takes. So I think when you really just focus on that, you just have to hustle. You know, you have to believe in yourself. You have to not be afraid to put yourself out there. You also, in doing so, have to not be afraid of rejection, which that has also taken an emotional toll. It's like, you know, how many times you put yourself out there to try to make connections and hopefully be affiliated with other people and other businesses. And, you know, you are definitely going to hear more no's than you will yeses. But I think the most important part is that you keep flipping over those stones, you keep planting seeds, and whether you are meant for that person that you come in contact with, or maybe you are meant for them to tell somebody else about you.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
So there's a lot of, you know, aspects that go into the mental strength of it all. But at the end of the day, as I mentioned before, it's definitely my children, and I just want to do right by them.
Yes. Carrie, do you have a question or comment?
Oh, I think I think tenacity, like the idea of hard work, I think hard work is a value that's incredibly important to me. It's also a value that's a part of my personality because it distracts me from my mind and other things like that. You know, some people, what do other people do? Like, when they don't want to deal with their feelings. Everyone has something. But anyways, working is a part of that for me. I also think sometimes it takes strength to do self-care,
yes,
to really control yourself. I guess I can only come from the perspective of, like, borderline workaholism because that's my perspective. I think sometimes it can take strength to control yourself and be like, I have to take care of myself. I have to not shove my emotions down and just keep typing. I think that takes strength.
Yes.
And then, like, I have an issue sitting still or like watching something because my mind just starts. It's like, I think it's an anxiety thing. But I know that I have to then I'll try to read. And it's like working in and of itself for me. It's like work. Self-care is work. It's sometimes for me because I'm like, oh my gosh, I just have to try and not work. That was exhausting. But yeah, I think that we have to, like Alicia was saying, it does take strength to really be who you want to be, because it's not anything that's going to be given to you. If you have something, you have someone or something in your head that you want to attain, or when I say someone, I don't mean like, oh, get that man, girl, or something like that. I mean someone you want to be. Like someone, if you were like, I aspire to be this person and have these traits.
Yeah. You
have to take steps, and those steps are going to be hard work. So yeah, I think strength can be a lot of different things. Yeah, I think it can be a lot of things. Because I think now it's like so much, there's career, like it's strength associated with career and stuff. But there can be a lot of strength in, like being a mother, even if you don't work. Like, I think strength is so abstract and multifaceted.
Mm-hmm. So, Carrie, as you were talking about strength, I just thought that strength is truth and honesty, being real with yourself, recognizing your position where you are, and realizing I need to do something about it. So being at work, putting your head down, typing away, and realizing, all right, I need to take a break. I do need to take care of myself right now. Or realizing, I'm in a storm right now, but I got to put these pieces together one at a time, and I got to do something. I have to make something happen. Like, I can't stay stuck. I think really being honest about your situation, even though it may be hurtful, even though, some of us are where we are today because we came through some horrible stuff. And we had to be honest about our situation. We had to be honest about that relationship that just was not right. And we had to move away from it. Or we had to be honest about, I really need to do more for myself. I do need to go back to school. I do need to better myself in some kind of way so I can get further and attain the goals that I want. So those goals won't continually just be a dream or a conversation. So I think it takes a real strength to look in a mirror and be honest with yourself and say, this is where I am and this is what I need to do. Even if it's not a pretty picture, you take it, you deal with it. It's like, the bills coming in the mail. Okay, you can't just take those envelopes and toss them in the trash. You need to open them. You need to open the mail and see what's in it. You use these credit cards. Now you need to see what the damage is. And now you need to go through and get a plan, put it together. Be honest about your situation. If not, you're going to keep using those credit cards and those bills are going to keep rolling in with the interest on top of interest. And then your credit score will be tanked and everything else. And then you look up and say, well, what happened to me financially? You got the bills in the mail and threw them in the trash because you didn't want to face, what you did. I think it can be simple at times, but then there's some major things that, that may need to happen and we have to be honest about. Sometimes you do need to leave a completely bad situation. Sometimes there are some people who you need to step away from. So if you have issues that you're dealing with, if it's drugs, if it's alcohol, if it's abuse in some manner, being the perpetrator or victim or survivor, I think honesty is just a huge part of that. And that's what I was hearing as you were talking, Carrie. And Alicia, when you talked about finding your why, I think that was a beautiful statement. Finding your why. Because sometimes we do have to look beyond ourselves, because there were many a days I only did what I did because of my children. I only got out of the bed because of my children. They had to eat. I had to put clothes on their back. I had to make sure they got to school. I had to make sure I had a roof over their heads. I started many a day just because of my children. But I can say eventually I got to that point to where my why finally included me. I was finally able to live for myself. And part of me being able to get to that point of living for myself was truly being honest, about my situation, about what I could do and what I couldn't do. I think part of strength, and Alicia, I'll ask you what you think. I think part of strength is realizing and recognizing and being honest about your weaknesses too. We can't do everything. You are not Superwoman, and it's okay if everything doesn't come together at one time. You can have everything you want in the world, but not at the same time. You do have to put a plan together, break it up, and just go piece by piece, no matter, how long that takes you. So I do believe part of strength is being honest about your weaknesses and being honest about when you need help and being able to reach out for that help. So Alicia, I'll ask you what you think about that.
I think a lot of times, especially as women, but just being in general, I think one of the hardest things to admit is that we all need help. We're human. We will fall on our faces. We will have to get back up. We will fall on our faces again. But you realize that in life, we have each other for more reasons than one, and the older I'm getting, I realize that the resources that you are given, you need to utilize them, so when you have people in your life, you need to use a better term, so I think, you need to call yourself out on your weaknesses. You need to acknowledge them. And then figure out how to strengthen them. Mm-hmm. And in the meantime, allow yourself to lean on other people, and eventually you will be their strength. There's a lot of times we bring strength to the table that may be someone else's weakness, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So we're all put here for a reason, and nobody can do it alone. And I think the sooner that we are acceptant of that, the happier people will be, and the better, the world in general will be.
Yeah. So, Carrie, what do you think about that? So, strength being able to admit your weaknesses or admit, your shortcomings and when you need help.
I think, for me, I think it's about having the strength to trust. Because vulnerability, yes, there is strength in vulnerability, but there's a lot of emotional steps before vulnerability. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a build-up. So you have to make up in your mind, because it's easy to have this mentality that's like, oh, I don't have friends, I have acquaintances, or I have associates or whatever. It's like, yes, humans are social beings, so obviously you can't just live in an empty planet, obviously. But at the same time, you have to let people in. You can't just physically be around people and say, oh, this is fine.
Right.
You have to actually, at some point, let somebody in. Because I was reading something, and they were saying that, the neuroscientists, they were saying that loneliness, changes your brain or something like that. And I was like, wow, that's crazy how loneliness can have real physical changes. And I know that depression is a physical change and things like that, but it's not even just depression. Because it was talking about, I don't know, the way they made it seem was like your physical brain is changed. I don't know, the way they made it sound so transformative. Loneliness.
Scientific and...
Yeah. So, you're evolving. I don't know. And it made it sound really just serious. This is serious. So I think it takes strength to trust people and go out of your comfort zone. But when we talk about comfort zone, it's always apply for that job or, ask this, ambition. I think we also have to be ambitious about connecting with others and finding ourselves and discovering, what do we really value in relationships and because one thing I've noticed is that love doesn't mean the same thing to everybody.
Right.
You have to find people that are aligned with what love means to you. because it's just about being happy. You know, it's not anything personal towards that person. It's like, but you have to also find happiness for yourself. And it takes strength to be like, I have to do this for myself.
Yes, exactly. So, listeners, we want to welcome you again to Suffering in Silence with Minister Tia on Luv Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We are here with you every Friday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern with a replay on Tuesdays at 1 p.m. and 7 p.m. and also on Thursdays and Fridays at 1 p.m. Eastern. And Luv Bay, we want you to remember that we are rising out of the ashes together. A couple of more resources that we have for you. Ontario Native Women's Association. Their website is www.onwa.ca. Their email address is onwa@onwa.ca. Their phone number is 1-800-667-0816. We have Befrienders Volunteer Action to Prevent Suicide. To find a helpline by your country, you can visit their website, www.befrienders.org. That is BEFRIENDERS, befrienders.org. And then we have the Canadian Women's Foundation. Their website is canadianwomen.org. Their phone number is 1-866-293-4483. And their email address is info@canadianwomen.org. So, ladies, my next question, Alicia, I'll ask you first, and then Carrie, I would ask you, within yourselves, in your personal lives, in any aspect you can apply this to, how did you move through or past fear to operate in your strength, or did you do it afraid?
Alicia, or do you want me to go first? I can go first. Well, I have, I guess I can talk about, because when it comes to, like, work and stuff, or, like, being risky, I have, like, more of a risky personality type or something. Like, I know some people are risk averse, or, like, some people are I'm more of, like, on the more risk side. But I guess when it comes to my personal life, that's more relatable. That's more of a relatable conversation is, I think I did it in a fear. Every time I meet someone new and I feel like we're becoming friends, or even when I met my boyfriend, I was very afraid because I don't really get close to people, or I didn't used to. I used to kind of isolate myself. Like, I was very social. Like, if you met me, you would be like, oh, she's extroverted. But really, I didn't let people in.
Mm-hmm.
So I think when I decided, okay, I need to let people in, I moved in fear. But I was like, I can feel myself, like, starting not to care. This is not good. I need to let people in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to do it in fear.
That's awesome. Alicia, what about you? How did you move through or past fear to operate in your strength, or did you do it afraid?
Piggybacking off of Carrie, so I am actually very extroverted. I think I would have to say almost kind of moved through in fear, but I think the bigger not taking the chance.
Yeah.
So I am definitely I'm definitely a big risk taker. Because I know myself, I would rather, even things that I've been through in the past, it's like I would rather learn the hard way so that I know than not know at all, you know? So like, I would rather know, okay, that's definitely a no, that's definitely a yes, rather than think, what could or would that have been, you know, regardless of any opportunity, whether that's relationship, whether that's professional, personal, you know, friendships, anything. As Carrie said, you know, strength is also being vulnerable, you know, and when you get hurt time and time again, you know, you almost put up this like thick exterior, but you know, as Carrie also mentioned, that doesn't get you anywhere. You know, you get lonely, and we're humans. We're not supposed to operate like that. You know, there's a reason why we are, and there's a reason why we feel the way we feel. And I definitely am a huge people person, and I realize that by closing, you know, people off, that's not going to help me. If anything, that's going to make things worse. And so I've realized that putting up this hard exterior will do nothing, you know, in the long run. So the biggest thing is to just, you got to take a chance on people, on opportunities. That way you at least know, you know, something that I've heard a couple of years ago from someone is that, you know, you spend your whole life wondering what it is that you want to be, do, and in actuality, we need to think of who it is and what it is that we don't want and that we don't want it to be. Mm-hmm. We'll get to our answer a lot quicker.
Well, I'm different. I'm a different kind of person. I don't like risk. I am not a risk taker. I don't play with the stock.
Different, that's all.
Right? Like, I don't play with the stock market. I just don't. I need to know what's going to happen, and you know, so I have a fear of not knowing. Like, I need to see and know 4 or 5 steps ahead. But having said that, I realized there were some changes that I had to make. So I had to learn to move forward in my life while being afraid. I had to do it while I was afraid. I couldn't wait for the fear to dissipate. I couldn't wait to come up with something that would make me feel better and the fear would just go away. Knowing me and how I am, I had to do it afraid. If I knew that this is something that I need to do, for instance, moving forward in my life, I had to move forward. I had to get my finances together. I had to get a new house. I had to get a new job. I had to operate in that. And I had to make this stuff work. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I didn't know how the pieces were going to line up. So I had to move being afraid. Meeting new people, becoming comfortable with people. I had to learn to trust people while being afraid. Now, I paid attention and I learned lessons, because if you cross me, then that's it. Now, I'll take that initial chance, but if you cross me, then I know, okay, you're off the list. We won't do that again.
Yes, canceled, honey.
Yeah, yes, but I had to learn to move being afraid. I also learned how to operate, and a friend of mine just said this to me, I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday. He said, you do not have to reveal all of you. And because of what I do in ministry and with advocating for victims and survivors of domestic violence, I am always on the front line. I am always telling my story. That's just a part of what I do. And so when I'm asked to speak somewhere, or if I'm doing something concerning, you know, domestic violence, it's like I'm always telling my story. I'm always telling my story. But that takes a toll on me at times. And he said to me very simply, you know, you don't have to overshare, because there's so much that I have to revisit. And there are things that do not bother me at all until I have to go speak somewhere, until I have an engagement. And that engagement made me remember whatever it was, you know, and I'm about to share this information. That, well, you know, you there are some things you just don't have to share. You don't have to revisit. So I had to learn, there are just some things that I don't have to do. There are some things that I don't have to say. So I don't even have to worry about fear rising up from that, because I can work myself up emotionally, thinking about what I have to do and how I have to put myself out there. And it's not necessary because I'm putting a pressure on myself, a stress on myself that I don't have to, and is not needed. So remembering something as simple as that, I don't have to overshare. So when I meet a person for the first time, I don't have to run down my life story. Maybe we will become very good friends, but I don't have to sit at the table and reveal everything about me, just thinking, maybe we will become friends. No, maybe we'll just talk for 2 minutes and never see each other again. So I've learned to to take each situation as it comes and determine, how much I give, how far I'll go. But again, for me, I really had to move just being afraid and stuff. I couldn't wait until I felt absolutely sure and positive that, this is going to work out and I don't have, those, I guess, butterflies or the tingly feelings. Now, and I'm not talking about just jumping headfirst into something and it's just absolutely crazy and like, no. Some of these things were necessary, okay? I had to move. I had to find a house. I had to take care of my kids. I had to line that stuff up. I have to move forward in ministry. So I'm not talking about crazy stuff. But when there is something that you have to do, and it is for you, if there are goals that you've lined up, if you want to, create your own business, write a book, if you're supposed to be moving in ministry, looking for another job or going back to school, those positive things, you have to go after. Well, I had to go after, some of those positive things while I still had that fearful feeling. And as I was doing the things, as I began to do them, the fear either lessened or that's when it went away after I started doing it. But again, I'm not a risk taker, so that's a huge thing for me because I need to know everything step by step.
Because you moved in fear.
Yeah.
And a risk taker, you would have allowed that fear to overcome you, and instead, you faced it and you took it head on.
Yeah.
So technically, you are a risk taker.
All right. Sometimes. Just a little bit.
She plays it safe, guys. She plays it safe.
Yes, I do. I play it absolutely safe. But can I say this? I want to say, if you do take the risk, if you do move forward, if you do it afraid, and if it doesn't turn out the way you wanted it to or the way you thought it would, it's okay. So don't shut down and not try it again. Don't shut down and not try anything else because something failed. And as you said before, Alicia, there are lessons to learn. So if you do something and it doesn't work, or if it doesn't turn out the way that you thought, there is a lesson to learn in that somewhere. So you take the lesson and then you move forward from that. So for me, if you get it wrong, if it doesn't come out right, I don't even like to use the word fail or failure, because it's a lesson. It taught you something. So pay attention to it. And then you move forward. So don't be upset, because you took a risk and it didn't work. Carrie, do you have a question or a comment?
I was saying that we need calculative and, I guess, quote unquote, risk averse people in society, because I feel like that's important too. Because I think risk takers, when I was reading something, I think that also kind of correlates with competitiveness. So everybody can't be competitive, because that would be like the apocalypse.
Right.
So I feel like it's a good balance. Like, we need calculative people and everything like that. My boyfriend is more calculative. He's he's an extremely hard worker. First of all, he's a hard worker in general, and then he's Nigerian, so it's compounded. So yeah, he's more, and he's a math brain. Like, he loves physics and math and all that. So he's very, like, calculating. I want to say calculative, because I feel like people think of something like different when I say calculating, but that's why I'm saying calculative, if that's a word. But I'm saying calculative because the other one has a connotation. But I think that that is good, and we need people who, take, lead from the backstage and see what's going on and, reports and everything, because we need people like that, because impulsivity isn't always the best thing. So.
Right. Well, I can play the back. I really can do that. I can be behind the curtains and, do the administration part, just keep stuff together. That's what I like to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no show without that. There's zero show. Unhappy crowd, people asking for refunds and then some.
So I want to ask both of you, in the world that we live in today, how do you think we could get strength across our young people today? Because it's so different from when I was growing up. Today it's like the younger generations, they think, or from what I've seen, it's like their strength lines up with Instagram and Twitter. Like how many people liked my comment or my picture. That's not strength. That's not. So like how do you think we could get strength across to the younger generations? Because, strength is character. It's integrity. It's not getting made up, with the makeup and the hair for a few minutes and sitting in front of a camera and, the lights are going and you put across an image that's not real. That's not strength. So how do we get strength across to the younger generations?
Carrie?
Yes. Well, I'm 24, so I was born in 1998. So it's interesting because it's like, even though I'm only 24 years old, I've seen so much pop culture, and I feel like that has evolved so much. And I don't know, maybe it's just because of the, like you said, the presence of social media. I feel like social media changed everything. Mm-hmm. It made life so visual because humans are already image oriented, and then you have a whole entire world where everything is images, literally images. Like people barely read. I also work with social media. People barely read captions. It's just image. And so we're in this world of gratification. Like it's like quick gratification, but then it's like image-based gratification. So we're thinking, oh, we can have this character, we can be a hard worker, but if we don't look it, right, it doesn't matter. And it's always kind of been that way, but now it's like on adrenaline, on steroids. Because there'll be people because when I think back, like in the I have a really good memory. Like in early 2000s, it's like bragging was like sitcoms. Like even if you think back to sitcoms like early 2000s, like Everybody Loves Raymond, like those type of sitcoms, like the bragging character was always the really obnoxious one. Like, for example, Friends, I can't remember his name, but the one who was like the heartthrob, whatever, he was kind of like obnoxious.
Joey.
But, yeah, in a charismatic way. Like he was kind of like the problematic fave, but arrogant. It was obnoxious, and now it's like, yes, arrogant, great, good. So I think maybe conveying strength to my generation is just knowing that there is still strength in being humble, and being humble helps you make good decisions. Because if you're sacrificing everything for image, you're like, I don't care. This is also YOLO. It's still YOLO. I know YOLO was like 2013, 2012, but it's still the YOLO generation. You only live once. I don't care if I, maxed out this credit card. I'm going to post this thing where I was in Cabo on Instagram, and it's going to be lit, and I'm going to look so cool. And it's just like, chill. Like, seriously chill. And I think, because I don't even know, and I don't even know why why that would be the case, because now cost of living is a lot more than early 2000s. So I have no idea why. I don't know. Maybe like supernatural powers are at work. But I would just say, remember that humility is good. That is a positive trait.
Yes.
That is not a negative trait. I don't know what is happening, and it helps you. And hard work is good, and it helps you make good decisions. I would just say strength is humility to my generation.
Alicia, what are your thoughts?
This is a good one because, so I'm 33, freshly turned, might I add, and I have 4 children, and so I teach my kids strength in, as you mentioned before, you know, it's character, it's integrity, it's morality, and it's kindness. You know, one thing I always share with my kids is to always be kind to everybody, because you don't know, you know, what goes on in their 4 walls. You don't know what they have or had endured. And I think that we need to share with, you know, our youth is that people that are your age, that's your generation. Those are the people that are going to travel this crazy life with you throughout. You know, you're going to meet people locally, far, you know, you'll meet people present, future. And so I think we need to really encourage our kids to just, number one, you know, going off of Carrie, like, put the phones down, put down social media, put down electronics. I mean, I feel like electronics have been a blessing and a curse at the same time. But just put it down and just stop to take a look around. You know, observe people, observe their, you know, their facial expressions, their body language, you know, sit down and have a conversation with somebody. Ask people, how are you? Are you okay? You know, and then stop and listen. So I think that's something we really need to focus on, is to teach our kids to look around you, create friendships, create relationships, and lock arms with these people, regardless of, you know, your background, regardless of your views, and just know that at the end of the day, we're all human. You know, we're all made up of essentially the same thing. We all bleed the same, you know, and going back to what we were talking about earlier too, about risk taking and opening up, is like, you know, you never know what kind of perspective you can get from somebody else just by hearing what they have to say, you know, and just stopping and listening. So I think that's the main thing of how we can teach our children strength, is to just stop and be present.
Yes.
And also I was going to say, also real humility, because I've noticed, like, I don't know if it's like, I know this is an oxymoron, but like arrogant humility or something. I don't know. Basically, just imagine some guy in a suit, and then, you know, his like hands are folded, and he's like looking off the distance, and his Maserati is behind him, and then in the caption it just says, "Be humble." What is that? What is that?
That was a very good visual, Carrie.
I know. It's just like, what is that? Then you have the caption, "Be humble."
Down.
Like, what?
I totally understand a true humility. I want to say, and ladies, I want you to chime in. I want to share, and I would really like to get across that strength is something you can begin walking in right now, no matter what has happened. If you feel like you've been weak, if you feel like you've missed the mark, if you feel like, you know, you haven't been getting it right, every day is a new day. Every moment is a new moment. You can start right now walking in strength. It doesn't mean you'll be perfect. It doesn't mean you get everything right. But it does mean, I believe, that you keep moving forward. So again, part of your strength could be admitting, you know what, I'm weak in this area. I need help. You know, part of your strength could be, you know what, I tried this, it didn't work, but I'm going to get up and do it again. Part of your strength could be, you know, reaching out to others. But no matter what, I really want to emphasize, wherever you are today, if you are not satisfied with what you believe your strength should be, you can start right now, moving forward. So I wanted to get that across. So ladies, what do you think? Alicia?
To grow through what you go through.
Yeah.
You know, as you mentioned, it's never too late to discover strengths. It's never too late to, you know, kind of sit back and evaluate, do a self-evaluation. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, we're not perfect. We will always find strengths and weaknesses. And I think when you do that, it just, as a whole, makes you a better person. It gives you a better outlook on life, and, you know, action always kills anxiety. So when you sit down and you do that evaluation and you take those necessary steps to help you get to where you need to be, you start to build confidence, and you start to slowly, you know, feel good about yourself, and really realize that, like, okay, wow, like, I'm helping myself. And then, you know, even coming, like, from, you know, my past, it's like, okay, you get to a certain point where you're like, wow, I can actually help other people, you know, to lend a helping hand to someone else that's struggling with something that was at one point a weakness of yours, and now you have almost mastered it. And then that's when it's time to, you know, pass along the torch.
Mm-hmm. Carrie, what do you think?
I think that's a really good point, Tia, because I think sometimes we can think, oh, I'm not strong enough right now to make that decision. Oh, I'm not good enough right now to form this new habit. But if you keep thinking like that, making yourself pay for, you know, these so-called inadequacies or whatever, like quote-unquote inadequacies, that's like kind of putting yourself in a debtor's prison. It's like prisoners, they can't really work, so it's like they're accruing all this debt, but they can never pay or like move forward or like get to their freedom because they don't have their freedom. So I'm like, if you feel like you're not good enough to make a decision, or you need to be better before you take this step, okay, then you have to get better. Like,
yes,
you have to get better. Then you have to get better. So take small steps, and like I said, we live in a visual age right now. So if you have to unfollow people, if you have to delete all your social media, then that's fine, you know? Do what you need to do for you. If there's something that you're looking at, a piece of content, and it makes you feel bad about yourself, or it makes you feel like down, you don't have to suppress it and be like, oh, no, that's just me being jealous. I should like this. No, because it's an algorithm. It's going to keep popping up. Just unfollow them. Like, no one's going to know. I think sometimes with social media, people think it's a lot more social than it really is. Like, no one's going to know that, like, you're not in the friend group or whatever. Just unfollow the person. It's not a big deal. And, yeah, if you want to get better, just take small steps. Maybe journal. People like doing vision boards. And there's all different types of stuff for that now. Like, there's Canva, which is a graphic design platform. There's, you can type stuff in Google Docs. There's blogs. There's forums now. How can I make a new habit? Quora. I wouldn't go to Reddit because Reddit's kind of, but, there's different, there's different forums and stuff. You can talk to people, chat rooms are so, not saying, oh, don't go to therapy, go to a chat room. But I'm just saying, if you just want to talk to someone, but maybe you don't want it to be, you kind of want it to be a distant thing, you can use online. I'm not saying to completely diss online, but yeah, there's just so many different ways. Find out what works for you, and you can just type in the Google search bar. That's the good thing about the internet now. Like, how can I so-and-so? And go from there. YouTube.
Yeah, that is really good, Carrie. I completely agree. Strength takes steps. It takes work, a little bit at a time. I think a good parallel to that would be physical strength, because at times I work out in the gym. Sometimes people want to go with me, and I'll take them with me. I always have to modify what I do to stay with them where they are. Because when I go into the gym, I can I can squat 185 pounds or deadlift 185 pounds. You've never been to the gym before. You're not about to do that. I've had women go with me, or friends go and they're like, I want to do this. You do this. No, you're going to start with that 5 pounds right there. Because if you don't, we're going to be going to the hospital. Like it takes work, but like Carrie said, steps at a time. You can't just jump in there and think that you're just going to get it all done. I've had people who want to run with me. Okay, if you want to run, you talk to me. Tell me how much have you been running? What have you been doing? Because if you tell me every other week I do 1 or 2 miles, okay, you're not about to run 13 miles with me. Let me explain to you what's about to happen to your body if you try to do that. And it's like
therapy.
Right? then I'll send you to Alicia after that. I think people see where you are and they want to automatically get to where you are without doing what you had to do to get there. Okay, I didn't.
It's like Carrie said, that instant gratification.
Exactly. I didn't just walk out my door running 13 miles. No, I started with barely getting around the track when I started running. I had to build up to that. So the same way you have to build up physical strength, I believe you do have to build up mental, emotional strength. You have to build up spiritual strength. You take the steps, as Carrie was saying. So you might start with journaling and, and going from there and getting, your stuff together. And again, do not discount small beginnings. And I really want to say, don't look at someone else and where they are. Don't look at someone else and their progress and then feel bad about you. There's no way I can look at someone who runs full marathons on a regular basis and I feel bad. That's not me. I have no reason to feel bad about myself because I'm not running 26.2 miles on a regular basis. No. But, what I can do, I'm happy with, I'm proud of. So if I do 3 miles, 1 mile, 5 miles, 13 or whatever, I'm staying in my scope and I'll grow at my own pace. So if that's a goal, if I want to get to the 26 miles, then I'll get there at my own pace, but not making myself feel bad, looking at someone else. And so I really hope that this conversation on strength, I really hope that it sparked something in someone. Even if you're already in it and you feel like, I'm walking a strong path already, then I hope you were encouraged to just keep going. Go one more step, keep moving further. Ladies, we are just under the hour. So Alicia, I want to give you the final words of the night as we finish. So just tell us what you would like to leave Luv Bay with on tonight.
Love to follow up with what you and Carrie were just talking about, and that's taking those little steps. One, I want to remind everyone to celebrate all of the little accomplishments, because those are what add up to be the accomplishments. And I think that's what makes it fun along the way. It's not that end goal, it's the journey. And so what makes that journey, whether it's the strength, the ups and the downs, the quote unquote failures, they need to be celebrated because it's all part of the process. It's part of the journey that you're on. And I truly feel like no matter what you face, like it's what you're to endure through your life, and there's a greater purpose in the end. And then the other thing is that we do have to take it in steps. It's like, just like a baby, babies walk before they run, and that is something, even myself at 33 years old, I still have to remind myself of that every day, because a lot of times, especially as a small business owner, I do want to dive in head first. I do sometimes sit back and think to myself, oh man, like, why am I not successful yet? And everybody's version of success is different, and I have to remind myself that, it doesn't just happen overnight. Like it takes a lot. And it's like you said, it's that mental strength, physical strength, emotional strength, spiritual strength. It's journaling, it's praying, it's, just having that positive outlook on life. And so, if there is one key point that I would love to leave with you guys, it's also another quote, because Alicia loves her quotes. This one is, I survived because the fire inside of me burned brighter than the fire around me. So I would love to tell everybody with Luv Bay listening that, continue to allow the fire to, fuel the fire that burns in your heart and your soul, and allow that to propel you through life, and continue to just set examples for other people, whether it's people that are older than you, people that are the same age, and, more importantly, people that are younger than you, because as we leave this earth, they are the next ones to fill our shoes. And we have to make sure that we are setting the examples of strength, of tenacity, of, work ethic, of love, of acceptance, and unity, I think is also a large part of that as well.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Carrie, for being with us on tonight. Luv Bay, if you want to catch up on previous episodes from the program, you can visit our YouTube channel, Suffering in Silence DV. We thank you again for joining Suffering in Silence with Minister Tia on Luv Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. We are here with you every Friday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern. Luv Bay, please remember that we are continuing to rise out of the ashes together. Good evening.